Hollywood, 1965. The set of The Dean Martin Show was usually a place of laughter and fun. Dean loved a good prank, and his crew knew it. So when a young comedian named Jerry Burns joined the writing staff, he thought he'd make a big impression by pulling an elaborate joke on the star himself. Jerry spent 2 weeks planning it. He got the whole crew involved. Camera operators, stagehands, even some of the guest stars were in on it. The prank was perfect, timed to the second, designed to embarrass Dean Martin right in the middle of a live taping in front of 300 studio audience members. The cameras were rolling. The audience was watching. Jerry's prank went off exactly as planned. Dean was caught completely off guard, standing on stage looking confused while the crew erupted in laughter. But then Dean did something nobody expected. Something so clever, so perfectly Dean Martin, that it turned Jerry's elaborate prank inside out. Within 60 seconds, the entire studio was laughing, but they weren't laughing at Dean. They were laughing at Jerry. What happened next became legendary in Hollywood. Not because the prank was funny, but because Dean Martin's response taught everyone a lesson about grace, quick thinking, and why some performers become legends while others remain footnotes. Before we reveal how Dean turned the tables on this prankster, hit that like button and subscribe. This is a story about thinking fast, staying cool under pressure, and the difference between being clever and being wise. Comment if you love a good prank story with a twist the world of The Dean Martin Show. By 1965, The Dean Martin Show had become must-see television. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m., millions of Americans tuned in to watch Dean sing, joke around with celebrity guests, and make everything look effortlessly fun. The show's relaxed atmosphere wasn't just an act. Dean genuinely ran one of the loosest, most enjoyable sets in television. Most TV shows were pressure cookers, recalled director Greg Garrison. Everyone was stressed, worried about ratings, obsessed with perfection. Dean's show was different. He showed up, did his thing, and made everyone feel like they were at a party instead of work. This casual atmosphere had a flip side: pranks. Lots of pranks. The crew loved playing jokes on each other, and Dean was often the ringleader. He'd short-sheet beds in guest dressing rooms. He'd switch cue cards so performers would read ridiculous lines. Once, he convinced Frank Sinatra that they were filming when the cameras weren't actually rolling, causing Frank to deliver an emotional performance to nobody. Dean believed pranks kept the set loose and fun. If people are laughing, they're relaxed, he'd say. And if they're relaxed, they do better work. His philosophy created an environment where creativity flourished, but it also created an environment where everyone was constantly watching their back. The crew loved Dean for this. Unlike other stars who demanded respect and distance, Dean was one of them. He'd eat lunch with the stagehands. He'd ask camera operators about their families. He treated everyone equally, from the biggest guest stars to the newest production assistants. But there was one rule that everyone understood. If you pranked Dean, you'd better be prepared for him to prank you back. And Dean always won the prank wars. Always. The new guy. Jerry Burns was 24 years old when he joined the writing staff of The Dean Martin Show in early 1965. Fresh out of UCLA, he'd written comedy sketches for small theater productions and had gotten his big break when one of Dean's producers saw his work and offered him a junior writer position. Jerry was talented, ambitious, and eager to prove himself. Maybe too eager. He saw the playful atmosphere on Dean's set and thought he understood it. He saw the pranks and thought he could join in. What he didn't understand was that there was a hierarchy, an unspoken code about how these things worked. The kid had talent, remembered head writer Harry Crane, but he didn't understand the culture yet. You don't walk onto a set and immediately start trying to upstage the star, even in fun. You earn your place first. You show respect. Jerry skipped those steps. Jerry noticed that Dean was beloved by everyone. The crew adored him. Guest stars requested to be on his show specifically because Dean made them comfortable. Even the network executives, who usually pressured shows constantly, left Dean alone because his ratings were so good. In Jerry's mind, this presented an opportunity. If he could successfully prank Dean Martin, the master of pranks himself, he'd establish himself as a bold, creative voice on the show. People would remember him, talk about him. He'd go from junior writer to somebody important. It was a miscalculation that would teach Jerry an important lesson about the difference between confidence and arrogance. The prank plan. Jerry spent 2 weeks developing his prank. It had to be big, something that would really catch Dean off guard. It had to be public. The studio audience needed to see it so the story would spread. And it had to be clever enough that people would admire the planning. The show taped episodes on Wednesday nights in front of a live audience. Dean's routine was always the same. He'd start with a song, do a comedy sketch, bring out a guest, and end with another song. The middle section, after the first commercial break, was when Dean would typically do an improvised bit, talking with the audience, taking song requests, or just riffing with the band. This was when Jerry would strike. He convinced the entire crew to participate. Here's how it would work. When Dean came back from the commercial break, the teleprompter would show the wrong text, not his usual patter, but a ridiculous monologue about Dean's secret fear of butterflies. The cue cards would match the teleprompter, so Dean would see the same wrong material everywhere he looked. At the same time, a stagehand would accidentally on purpose spill water on the stage, making Dean slip slightly. The band would start playing the wrong song. Guest star Joey Bishop, who was on that night's show, would come out holding a butterfly net and asking if Dean was ready for therapy. The chaos would last about 30 seconds before Jerry would appear on stage with a big sign saying, "Gotcha, Dean," and everyone would laugh at the elaborate prank. It was complex, carefully timed, and required dozens of people to coordinate perfectly. Jerry was proud of how much effort he'd put into it. He thought Dean would appreciate the creativity and laugh along with everyone else. "I thought I was honoring the show's tradition," Jerry later admitted. "I didn't realize I was crossing a line." The setup day. Wednesday arrived. The studio audience filed in, 300 people excited to see Dean Martin live. Jerry had briefed everyone involved in the prank one more time. During the afternoon, camera operators knew to capture Dean's confusion. The audio engineer knew when to cue the wrong music. Joey Bishop was fully prepared for his entrance with the butterfly net. Dean arrived at his usual time, 1 hour before taping. He went through his normal routine, checked in with the director, said hello to the audience, did a quick sound check. He seemed completely normal, unaware that half his crew was about to turn on him in coordinated chaos. "I remember thinking Dean looked particularly relaxed that night," recalled a camera operator. He had no idea what was coming. "None of us felt good about it, but Jerry had convinced us it would be funny. We trusted the new guy when we should have trusted our instincts." The show began normally. Dean sang his opening number, "You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You," and it went perfectly. The audience loved it. The first comedy sketch, featuring Joey Bishop as a confused restaurant customer, got huge laughs. Everything was going according to plan. Then came the commercial break. Jerry positioned himself in the wings, holding his "Gotcha, Dean" sign. The crew members involved in the prank exchanged nervous glances. Some were starting to have second thoughts, but it was too late to back out now. The cameras came back on. Dean walked to center stage, ready for his impromptu segment with the audience. He glanced at the teleprompter to see his opening line. The prank was about to begin. The prank unfolds. Dean looked at the teleprompter, and his smile faltered for just a second. The text read, "Good evening, folks. Before we continue, I need to confess something. I have a deep, paralyzing fear of butterflies. It started when I was 6 years old." He looked at the cue card the stagehand was holding. Same ridiculous text about butterflies. Dean's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in recognition. Something was happening. He opened his mouth to speak, deciding to ignore the wrong text and just improvise. That's when the stagehand accidentally knocked over a pitcher of water. It splashed across the stage, and Dean had to sidestep quickly to avoid getting soaked. His shoe slipped slightly on the wet floor. The audience gasped. Dean caught his balance easily. Those boxing reflexes from his youth still worked, but he looked genuinely confused now. What was going on? The band, following Jerry's instructions, suddenly burst into Flight of the Bumblebee, instead of their usual background music. The tempo was frantic, comical. Dean turned toward the band with a "what the hell" expression. That's when Joey Bishop made his entrance, carrying a large butterfly net and wearing a safari hat. "Dean," he called out in an exaggerated therapist voice. "I'm here for your session. We're going to face your butterfly phobia together." The studio audience was confused. Was this part of the show? It seemed chaotic, not like the usual smooth Dean Martin performance. Some people laughed uncomfortably. Others sat in silence, unsure what to do. Dean stood center stage, wet floor beneath him, wrong text on every teleprompter, band playing random music, and Joey Bishop approaching with a butterfly net. For about 5 seconds, he just stood there, taking it all in. Then Jerry Burns rushed out from the wings, holding his "Gotcha, Dean" sign high, a huge grin on his face. "We got you, Dean." Jerry shouted triumphantly. 2 weeks of planning. The whole crew was in on it. We finally pranked the master of pranks. The crew members involved started laughing and applauding. They thought the prank had worked perfectly. Dean had been confused, caught off guard, made to look foolish in front of the audience. Mission accomplished. But Dean Martin wasn't laughing. The moment of truth. Dean looked at Jerry holding the sign, looked at Joey Bishop with the butterfly net, looked at the crew members laughing. Then he looked at the studio audience, who were watching this unfold with uncertainty. His expression was calm, almost too calm. Anyone who knew Dean well, and several crew members did, recognized this look. This was Dean thinking, calculating, deciding how to respond. The laughter from the crew started to die down. Something about Dean's silence was unsettling. Jerry's smile became uncertain. He'd expected Dean to laugh along, to congratulate him on a well-executed prank, to maybe even promise revenge later. Instead, Dean just stood there in the silence, the stage lights harsh and bright, 300 audience members waiting to see what would happen next. Finally, Dean spoke. His voice was quiet, almost conversational, but in the silent studio, every word was clearly heard. "Jerry," Dean said, looking directly at the young writer. "Come here for a second." Jerry walked over, still holding his sign, his confidence starting to crack. "It was just a joke, Dean. We were having fun." "I know," Dean interrupted gently. "It was a good prank. Well planned. Lots of moving parts. You got everyone involved. That takes skill." Jerry's smile returned slightly. "Maybe this would be okay after all. But let me ask you something," Dean continued, his tone still mild. "What were you trying to accomplish?" Jerry blinked. I was trying to make people laugh. To do something creative. To honor the show's tradition of pranks." "Uh-huh," Dean nodded. "And did people laugh?" Jerry looked around. The crew members who'd been laughing before were quiet now. The studio audience looked uncomfortable. Joey Bishop had set down his butterfly net and was watching with concern. "Some people laughed," Jerry said weakly. "Some people," Dean repeated, "but not the audience. They didn't laugh, Jerry. You know why." Jerry shook his head. "The lesson begins." Dean's voice remained calm, but now it carried weight. This wasn't anger. It was something more powerful. This was a master entertainer explaining something fundamental about their craft. "Because this isn't a prank, Jerry. This is sabotage. There's a difference." He gestured to the audience. These people paid money to see a show. They took time out of their lives to come here. They're expecting entertainment, professionalism, something worth their time. When you create chaos on stage, you're not pranking me. You're cheating them. Jerry's face went red. He hadn't thought about it that way. "A good prank," Dean continued, "makes everyone laugh, including the person being pranked. It creates a moment of surprise and joy. It brings people together." He paused. "What you did was designed to make me look foolish, to make yourself look clever at my expense. That's not a prank. That's ego." The studio was absolutely silent now. Every crew member, every audience member, Joey Bishop, everyone was listening to Dean deliver a masterclass in professionalism and respect. "Do you know why I do pranks on this set?" Dean asked. "Not to embarrass people, not to show how clever I am. I do them to break tension, to keep people loose, to remind everyone that this is supposed to be fun. Every prank I've ever done, the person being pranked ended up laughing. Can you say the same about what you just did?" Jerry couldn't speak. He just stood there, holding his stupid sign, realizing how badly he'd miscalculated. Dean's countermove. Then Dean did something that showcased his genius. Instead of kicking Jerry off the set, instead of humiliating him further, instead of ending the young writer's career before it really started, Dean turned the situation into entertainment. He looked at the audience with his trademark smile. "Folks, I apologize for the confusion. We've got a new writer who thought it would be funny to prank the old man. And you know what? I admire the ambition. Takes guts to try to prank me." The audience, relieved to have the familiar Dean back, laughed warmly. "But here's the thing," Dean continued, his timing perfect. "If you're going to prank somebody, you need to understand the most important rule. Always have an escape plan for when the prank backfires." He turned to Jerry. "You got an escape plan, kid?" Jerry shook his head, terrified. "Didn't think so," Dean said. "So let me help you out. Here's what we're going to do." The perfect response. Dean snapped his fingers at the band. "Give me something upbeat. How about That's Amore?" The band immediately started playing. The familiar melody filled the studio, and you could feel the tension breaking. This was the Dean Martin everyone knew, smooth, in control, turning chaos into entertainment. Dean started singing, but with a twist. He changed the lyrics on the fly. "When you try to prank Dean / but you're just 19 / that's a bad idea." The audience erupted in laughter. This was brilliant. Dean was taking the prank, acknowledging it, and turning it into part of the show. "When the crew's in on it / but you forget the wit / that's a bad idea." Jerry stood frozen, not knowing whether to run off stage or stay. Dean solved the problem by putting an arm around the young writer's shoulders and dancing him around the wet spot on the floor. "When your prank falls flat / and you look like a rat / oh, but Dean will save you." More laughter, but now it was joyful. The audience wasn't laughing at Jerry anymore. They were laughing with Dean at the absurdity of the whole situation. Dean finished his improvised verse and took a bow. The applause was thunderous. He'd taken an awkward, uncomfortable moment and transformed it into entertainment. That was the difference between an amateur and a master. The teaching moment. Dean kept his arm around Jerry's shoulders and spoke to the audience, but his words were really for the young writer. "This kid right here," Dean said warmly. "He's got talent. He's creative. He's ambitious. All good qualities. He just needs to learn one thing. Know your audience. Know your moment. Know what you're trying to achieve." He looked at Jerry. "You wanted to be memorable, right? To make your mark on the show." Jerry nodded miserably. "Well, congratulations," Dean said with a smile that held no malice. "Nobody's going to forget this, but maybe not for the reasons you wanted." The audience laughed again, but it was gentle laughter now. Dean had taken control of the narrative completely. "Here's what I'm going to do," Dean announced. "Jerry's going to keep his job. He's going to keep writing for this show. But he's also going to learn something important. In this business, you don't succeed by tearing others down. You succeed by lifting everyone up." He turned to address the crew members who'd participated in the prank. "And the rest of you, you should have known better. When a new guy suggests something like this, you guide him toward better choices. You don't enable his mistakes." Several crew members nodded, looking chastised. The redemption. Then Dean did something unexpected. He handed Jerry his microphone. "Okay, kid, you got me on stage, confused, in front of all these people. Now you're going to earn your way back. Tell them a joke. Make them laugh. Show them you're here because you're talented, not because you're trying to ride on my embarrassment." Jerry's eyes went wide. "Dean, I can't." "Sure you can," Dean encouraged. "You're a comedy writer, aren't you? Make them laugh. You've got 1 minute." The audience waited. This was a test, and everyone knew it. Could Jerry recover? Could he show that he was more than just a prankster? Jerry took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. Then he spoke. "You know," Jerry began, his voice uncertain at first, "I spent 2 weeks planning that prank. 2 weeks. Drew diagrams, held secret meetings, coordinated with dozens of people. And you know what I learned?" He paused for timing. "It's a lot easier to make chaos than it is to make entertainment. Dean just showed me that in 60 seconds. The audience laughed. It was a good line, and more importantly, it was honest. Jerry wasn't trying to save face or make excuses. He was acknowledging his mistake. I thought I was being clever, Jerry continued, gaining confidence. Turns out I was just being a punk. There's a difference. A big difference. And Dean just taught me what that difference is. More laughter, and now some applause too. So I want to apologize, Jerry said, looking at Dean. Not just to you, but to everyone here. You came for a show, and I turned it into a mess. That was wrong, and I'm sorry. He turned to the audience, and I promise, from now on, my pranks will be better planned. Specifically, they won't involve pranking the guy who can fire me. The audience roared with laughter. Jerry had turned it around. Not completely. The prank was still a failure, but he'd shown grace, humility, and genuine humor. Dean took back the microphone and put his arm around Jerry again. See, the kid's got talent. He just needed to learn when to use it. The final touch. Dean wasn't quite done. He had one more lesson to teach. One more way to turn this disaster into something meaningful. Joey. Dean called to Joey Bishop, who was still standing awkwardly with his butterfly net. Come here. Joey walked over, and Dean took the butterfly net from him. You know what this net is going to be. Dean asked the audience. This is going to be our new tradition. Anytime someone on this show, and I mean anyone, including me, does something that crosses the line, we're going to present them with a butterfly net. It'll be a reminder that we're all capable of making mistakes, and that's okay as long as we learn from them. He handed the net to Jerry. You're the first recipient. Congratulations. Display it proudly in the writer's room. The audience applauded. Dean had taken a symbol of Jerry's failed prank and turned it into something positive. A reminder about learning from mistakes. Now, Dean said, brushing off his hands as if the matter was settled, let's get back to why we're really here. Joey, you ready to do our sketch? More than ready, Joey replied, grateful to move past the awkwardness. Good. Band, give me a proper intro this time. And somebody clean up that water before I break my hip. The show continued as if nothing had happened. Dean sang, joked with Joey, took song requests from the audience. By the end of the taping, the attempted prank felt like a distant memory, but everyone who was there would remember what had really happened. A young man learned a crucial lesson about respect, professionalism, and the difference between cleverness and wisdom. The aftermath. When the taping ended, Jerry Burns expected to be fired. He went to Dean's dressing room to clean out his desk, assuming his career in television was over before it really started. Dean was sitting in his chair, removing his stage makeup. He saw Jerry in the doorway. You leaving? Dean asked. I assumed you'd want me gone, Jerry said quietly. Dean shook his head. Why would I fire you? You made a mistake. Big deal. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do after. I embarrassed you in front of everyone. Kid, I've been embarrassed plenty of times. That's not what bothered me. Dean turned to face Jerry directly. What bothered me was that you didn't think about anyone but yourself. Not the audience, not the crew, not me. Just your own ambition. That's the mistake you need to fix. Jerry nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Dean. Really sorry. I know you are, Dean said kindly. Now prove it. Write something great for next week's show. Make people laugh. Make them feel good. That's what this job is about. Jerry did exactly that. He stayed with the Dean Martin Show for 3 more years, eventually becoming one of the head writers. He went on to have a successful career in television comedy, working on several major shows. And throughout his career, he told the story of his failed prank on Dean Martin, not as a humiliation, but as the most important lesson he ever learned. What the prank taught everyone. The failed prank became legendary in Hollywood, but not because of the prank itself. It became legendary because of how Dean handled it. In an industry known for ego, for crushing young people who stepped out of line, for holding grudges and ending careers, Dean had shown grace, wisdom, and genuine kindness. That's the moment I understood why Dean Martin was a star, recalled the show's director. Not because of his voice or his looks or his comedy timing, though he had all of that, but because he understood people. He could have destroyed that kid. Instead, he taught him. That's leadership. The lesson extended beyond just Jerry Burns. The entire crew learned something that night. First, respect matters more than cleverness. Jerry's prank was clever, even creative, but it lacked respect for Dean, for the audience, for the show itself. Cleverness without respect is just cruelty. Second, public humiliation helps no one. Dean could have torn Jerry apart in front of everyone. Instead, he corrected him firmly but kindly, teaching the lesson without destroying the young man's confidence. Third, grace under pressure defines character. Anyone can be cool when things go well. Dean showed his true character by staying calm, thinking clearly, and responding thoughtfully when he'd been publicly embarrassed. Fourth, the show must go on. Despite the chaos, despite his personal feelings, Dean never forgot about the audience. He turned the disaster into entertainment, because that's what professionals do. They deliver for the people who came to see them. The broader lesson about pranks. Dean Martin loved pranks, but his approach to them revealed a deeper wisdom about humor and human interaction. Good pranks, the kind Dean appreciated, had several characteristics. They punched up, not down. Dean would prank other celebrities, people who could take it and dish it back. He didn't prank assistants or junior staff who couldn't defend themselves. They created shared joy. The best pranks made everyone laugh, including the target. The goal was a moment of surprise and delight, not humiliation. They showed creativity without cruelty. Dean's pranks were clever, but they never hurt anyone emotionally or damaged anyone's dignity. Jerry's prank failed on all these counts. It punched down, a new writer trying to embarrass a beloved star. It created discomfort, not joy. And it was designed to make Jerry look clever at Dean's expense. The contrast between Dean's philosophy and Jerry's approach revealed something important. Humor should bring people together, not drive them apart. Laughter should be inclusive, not divisive. Entertainment should lift people up, not tear them down. What this means for modern life. This story, from 1965, has remarkable relevance today. We live in an age of pranks, YouTube channels dedicated to them, TikTok videos racking up millions of views, entire careers built on pulling elaborate jokes on unsuspecting people. But many modern pranks follow Jerry's model, not Dean's. They're designed to embarrass, to shock, to get views at someone else's expense. The prankster's cleverness matters more than the target's dignity. Humiliation is the point, not an unintended consequence. Dean's response to Jerry offers a different model. Humor with humanity. Entertainment with ethics. The ability to be funny without being cruel. In our personal lives, this lesson applies equally. We've all been tempted to make a joke at someone else's expense, to share a funny story that embarrasses someone else, to prioritize our own cleverness over someone else's feelings. Dean showed us there's a better way. You can be funny without being mean. You can correct mistakes without destroying people. You can maintain your authority while showing kindness. The professional lesson. For anyone in a leadership position, whether you're running a TV show, managing a team, or just trying to create a positive environment, Dean's handling of this situation offers a masterclass in effective leadership. Address problems immediately. Dean didn't wait until later to have a private conversation. He dealt with the issue in the moment, when everyone could learn from it. Be firm but kind. He made clear that Jerry's behavior was wrong, but he did it without destroying the young man's confidence or career. Turn mistakes into teaching moments. Instead of just punishing Jerry, Dean used the incident to teach everyone about respect, professionalism, and what makes good entertainment. Model the behavior you want to see. By showing grace under pressure, Dean demonstrated the kind of professionalism he expected from everyone else. Focus on growth, not punishment. Dean's goal wasn't to make Jerry suffer. It was to help him become better. These principles work in any field, in any era. Good leaders don't just manage problems. They transform them into opportunities for growth. Dean's legacy. Dean Martin passed away in 1995, 30 years after this incident. In the obituaries and tributes that followed, many people mentioned his professionalism, his kindness, his ability to make everyone around him better. Jerry Burns wrote one of those tributes. In it, he told the story of his failed prank and what Dean had taught him. Dean Martin saved my career that night, Jerry wrote. But more than that, he taught me how to be a better person. He showed me that success isn't about making yourself look good. It's about lifting others up. That true power comes from grace, not ego. That the mark of a real professional is how you treat people when they make mistakes. The butterfly net that Jerry received that night stayed in the Dean Martin Show's writer's room for the remaining 9 years the show was on the air. It became exactly what Dean intended, a reminder that mistakes are part of growth, and that humor should bring people together, not drive them apart. The final truth. The story of Jerry's failed prank isn't really about the prank at all. It's about character, about how we respond when we're wronged, about the choice between revenge and redemption, between ego and grace. Dean Martin could have responded with anger, could have humiliated Jerry as badly as Jerry tried to humiliate him, could have ended the young man's career with a single phone call. He had every right to do so. Instead, he chose to teach, to guide, to turn a negative moment into something positive. That choice revealed more about Dean's character than any performance ever could. In the end, that's the lesson the prank taught everyone. True class isn't about how you act when everything's going well. It's about how you respond when someone tries to embarrass you, disrespect you, or undermine you. Do you lash out, or do you show grace? Dean showed grace, and in doing so, he turned a young writer's worst mistake into his best lesson. If this story taught you something about grace, leadership, and the right way to handle mistakes, smash that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment below. Have you ever had a prank backfire? What did you learn? Remember, true strength isn't about dominating others. It's about having the power to destroy someone and choosing to build them up instead. True humor brings people together, not tears them apart. True leadership means turning mistakes into teaching moments. Dean Martin understood all of this instinctively. He wasn't just an entertainer. He was a teacher, showing us through his actions how to be better people. The world needs more leaders like Dean. People who respond to disrespect with dignity, to mistakes with mercy, to chaos with calm. The next time someone wrongs you, ask yourself, what would Dean do? The answer is simple. He'd stay cool, handle it with class, and turn a negative into a positive. That's the Dean Martin way. That's the way legends are made. Rest in peace, Dean Martin. You taught us that the real prank was on anyone who underestimated your character, your wisdom, and your boundless grace. That's a lesson worth remembering forever.